Okay, we're going to see if this ends up being better. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's much better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through it, and if it still has problems, then I'll redo it when I can figure out what's wrong. Okay. Feminism, the boobs that stick together. That was posted on From Seventh-day Adventist to Catholicism, June 5, 2009, by Teresa Beam. I think it had to be some ingenious men behind the women's movement. These Joes who, after 30 years of a 9-to-5 existence and a couple of stress-induced heart attacks, peered into the lives of their housewives and decided it wasn't fair. It's time for the women to carry the financial weight for a while. Scheming like Mark Twain's, they pulled the, "Oh, I'm having so much fun out here painting the fence" routine. The joke backfired when these men's 35-year-old grandsons, keeping fit with the Wii, which, back then was that little game, the WII, as their daughters slave at 2 jobs to pay for it. The problem is that women didn't get the joke, and now the gender reversal seems permanent. Maybe I should blame men. That would be so female of me, right? But it's hard to believe that we're really so stupid and masochistic that we did this to ourselves. Oh, we'd been complaining about our rights for years, but the fall of women didn't really become a screeching, illogical, full-fledged hissy fit until the 1960s. Little dissatisfied housewife Betty Friedan, in The Feminine Mystique, found herself in blaming men's sexism for the world's unhappiness. She excuse me. She captained a cackling breed of loudmouth females who chimed in, "Those rotten men, they make us so mad. They shouldn't get to have all the power. They make more money." Its shrill hypocrisy was exposed when they burned their bras and complained, "It isn't fair men judge us by our breast size." It began to be drummed into our tiny little girl heads. True feminine bliss and justice is for us all to have men's jobs and power. No, actually more power. After all, it is the housewife's revenge for all those years of having to vacuum and iron while their husbands were off frolicking in the fields, singing beer songs in unison all day long. What typical feminine illogic to demand from men they enact laws handing over their positions so we could oppress them. Men are so generous they actually did it. They couldn't help it. We cried. Let's be honest, ladies. We are not the best problem solvers. If we were, we would not have to need. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm looking over to make sure I'm still on. Okay. So if we were the best problem solvers, we would not have needed the women's movement to rescue us from our own victimhood. We irrationally assumed our misery was because the male didn't respect us. Come closer so I can let you in on a little secret. In general, men would love to respect women. They just expect us to earn it, like they did. Truth be told, there is no more relentlessly oppressed group today than the male. They're bashed and ruthlessly demeaned by every female comic, liberal newspaper, and sitcom, not to mention all the laws giving the jobs they qualify to the women who don't. But they take it and never whine. Maybe women, we could learn a lesson from their sense of humor and their ability to take a punch. I can imagine all the hand-wringing of my sisterhood. Some men really do treat women badly. Yes, I know. But if you didn't notice, ladies, There have always been rotten men and rotten women. Yet, again, with the female logic, rather than use our true feminine power to make men worship at our feet, men decided to become, women decided to become equal by choosing to become one of the wife beating bubbas. We have been liberated from sexism um, and unabashedly enter wet t-shirt contests so men can get a gratis peep show. Now men cuss freely in front of us and blush at our own potty-mouthed, belching, rear-scratching liberty. Women can look as sloppy as men, wear combat boots, have six-pack abs, professionally wrestle, wear cleric collars, make lawyers rich in sexual harassment and no-fault divorce lawsuits, keel over with stress-induced heart attacks, divorce their husbands, and relieve them of their stress-induced heart attacks. Thanks to our radical grandmothers, we deem it our sacred entitlement to shamelessly discard our virginity by popping a contraceptive and wearing such sexually explicit clothing. We advertise that we're ready and waiting to get an STD for free. An STD for free. No worries. Abortion can take away any unwanted permanent outcomes of our promiscuous lifestyles. The 80s liberated woman bellowed that we didn't need fathers to screw up our children. So, after releasing him from sexual responsibility, we cried foul and called him a deadbeat dad when we kept his child. Then we vengefully sued and jailed him. What? Well, we had the right to change our mind, remember? Or maybe that was the old oppressed woman who had the right to change her mind. I don't know. For 40 years, a lovely group of women activists can be found in that quilting bee group called NOW, or the National Organization of Women. I wrote that in the 1980s, so I would say it's NARAL or something now. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, among other things, they lobby Congress to enact laws making men stop beating their girlfriends and wives. Let me give women a suggestion that would save NOW, or not NARAL, or whatever it is, the women's group NOW, a lot of money. We need to learn from men. They don't go around whining if they get beat up. They take self-defense lessons. If a woman feels particularly petite, hand her a Colt 45. That would end the male violence. I know. I wrote that in 1980s. I wouldn't suggest that now, but these women groups also seek to legislate against soft hate speech. Now, would they consider an example of soft hate speech? Your bottom looks fat in that dress? I guess we're going to put man in the stocks for calling a woman the demeaning sweetie. The feminists have made our lives so much better because of gender-based affirmative action and non-sexist language that her story instead of history really spelled justice to me. And how is that Ms. thing caught on? Firefighter instead of fireman. Now that forced men to respect women. So it's interesting. I read this and, we now do have that hate speech in mind, but it's not necessarily against women. Anyway. So you may think I'm being hard on my sex. Well, there's no way I could be as hard on them as we've been on ourselves. Wearing tight curlers over the generations must have affected our brains, for we don't see that everyone has been discriminated against. Fat people, ugly people, short people, stupid people. So how do short, ugly, and stupid men combat these inequalities? Ask the Three Stooges. They laughed all the way to the bank. The feminists will claim the credit for the list of fabulous successes women have today. But honestly, it's the law of physics, not affirmative action, when cream rises to the top. I can give you a history of powerful women who somehow changed the world without the benefit of all these radical feminist groups such as Now, or what was Now, and uh, what the feminist movement is today. So what did the feminist movement take away from us? We lost men paying for the privilege of dating us, fathers who cared enough about our virginity to quiz our suitors, men standing when we came into the room, opening doors for us and saying, "Yes, ma'am," strong marriages and families, men making lifelong commitments to us that inspire them to mature. The choice to stay at home with our children, influencing their characters, time to cook nice, healthy meals. And when all is said, the women's movement actually took away women's true power, our femininity. The smart, gutsy women of our past knew if we really needed something, we didn't expect the government to demand it. All we had to do was put on a smile, put a little perfume on, and ask sweetly. But oh, y'all think that's so demeaning. Yes, we have come a long way, baby. And now we're worn out from working full time and have successfully butchered our families and culture. Feminism led us like lemmings right off a cliff. Dearest grandmama, if you really had our best interests in mind as women, if you wanted us not only to equal men, but to excel above them, why did you place before us the lowest, coarsest in men to emulate? Why did you insist we become the power hungry, materialistic, self centered troglodytes? If you had contemplated history, you would have chosen a better role model. You would have been influenced by great men such as Aristotle, who taught that to achieve happiness, you must sacrifice yourself and do what is right. You devalued and tossed away the greatest power on earth, motherhood. Like Dorothy's with ruby slippers, we had the power, and we still have the power of happiness, and all along, right at our feet, if we would only recognize and nurture it. The power of women is to give life and to give love. That's it. God bless.